Corn has been in my lifetime ever since I was a little child, and my grandpa grew a lot of corn, and then after he passed on, it went to my auntie, and then that's where I got most of my knowledge from my aunt and my uncle, who kind of took me under their wing and taught me all the things that I needed to know. Take care of that can right there. It was a old cream can. I started thinking, what do I need that old cream can for? But he said, take care of that. So I went in and I looked in there, and it was half full of Indian corn. And he asked me, he said, take care of that and take care of my gardens while I'm gone. He said, they're yours now. He said, I guess that was my calling, to keep growing the corn and to get into it, and then it just took off from there.
We held an event here at Ganondagan through our organization that's called Braiding the Sacred. And what that organization, the work that it entails, is melding together corn growers from all over our Confederacy and Turtle Island, and sharing knowledge and sharing stories about our agriculture. We started out just focusing on corn, and it's broadened our horizons to many other things as well. So all of our sacred foods. And this gathering here at Ganondagan, which was the heartland of Seneca Nation corn growing, we felt was befitting that we should have a gathering here to talk about the corn.
I was invited by the Sacred Corn people after meeting with them and the corn gathering in Milwaukee last October. I'm involved with one of the charter schools there in Shiprock, the Net Dream Charter School. These are elementary age kids, and we have had sessions, and I tell them about, hey, our corn, to their level.
We tried very hard to eat more natural foods, and the corn was the one thing that filled us. And we shared this with the community. We've been always sharing with the community how important corn is.
And in our preaching, it says we have that responsibility, because the responsibility that we have, and if we don't take care of it, it's going to go away on us. And who's going to have made that happen? It's me and you. And if the children are our future, then we better get up and make something happen.
The idea behind opening Ganondagan was to tell the story of the time period when the Seneca people lived here, and we have to include in that a time period when the French invade this area in the year 1687. A lot of the story revolves around the fur trade, but we also have a lot of the story that revolves around the idea of self-sufficiency, when our people were able to grow their own food, when they were able to supply their community with enough food to sustain themselves, when there were 150 bark longhouses here, and someplace maybe as many as 4,500 people were living here. So really we wanted to tell a story on the location where the people lived and the events that transpired here, during that time period when our people were living here. This is the heart of original Seneca land, or as we refer to ourselves in our language, Onondaga, meaning the people of the Great Hill.
The nonprofit I work with is called Traditional Native American Farmers Association. When they seen agriculture diminishing in our communities, they also seen the rise of social behaviors like alcoholism and even like family abuse and stuff, and they equated that the loss of agriculture was a result of that. And then just the physical health of people was declining, with you see that now with rise in diabetes and heart disease and stuff like that.
We get the game, the meat, berries and all this other stuff that go together and make yourself a meal. And we didn't eat till you couldn't move. You know, you ate till you could keep going till you went that night. This is what we do. This is what Creator put us on this earth for, is to keep going. Not to ruin ourselves by keep eating the wrong kind of food.
Historically, I believe that corn, beans, and squash is responsible to keeping the Oneida people alive during the winter before refrigeration in such a way that if we had enough nutrition, if we had enough balance mentally, we could be involved in art, speculation, and planning, and how to take gentle care of our family. But if we're being malnourished and steadily driven to a dull mental place of not enough nourishment, I believe we would reach out and fight with each other more. So I think the higher parts of living, the higher parts of learning are available when we have good nutrition. And that's what I thank the corn for in our history.
To honor that old diet, you know, corn, beans, and squash, venison, they were put here for us. And I think our bodies are really built to process those. And I think just eating a more natural diet, more traditional diet, will get us to where we need to get.
At the clinic on our reservation, Tuscarora, they were very skeptical about me eating just organic, natural foods. And so they always made me do blood work. And my blood work always comes back perfect. I am on no medications. I do take vitamins only because our food don't have that in them now, because the earth is depleted.
Because of loss of what they call genetic diversity, losing those seeds and having a hard time finding them, so we restore and rebuild those relationships with perhaps neighboring pueblos, neighboring communities. If you didn't find it there, then you went further and further out.
And I would take them with me somewhere to a gathering or in my travels, and I would meet the people that belonged to those seeds. It was like the seeds were looking through a different set of eyes other than mine, and it found its own people. We were just the vessels to get them there. And it created a friendship between me and the people who were so moved emotionally and spiritually, like they had been longing for that. And they didn't even know that that's what they were looking for. My hopes and plans for the collection is that it's going to find its way back to its people. We've had other tribes reach out to us for help. Can you please help us grow our corn? And so that's how I'm seeing it spread out across intertribal boundaries, where we never used to have those. It's kind of breaking down those barriers.
Last year we had about 50 people also that came to Oneida, and we did it the same way, where we did 2 days talking together in a circle, and then on the third day we went out to the fields and we picked corn. We cleared like half of our field, 2/3 of our field, all in one day, and we brought it all back to our barn. And Roger said, hey, you know you gotta husk all this the same day. And we were like, what? So we start rushing through and husking everything, and we didn't know that because that's not how we were taught to do it in our own community. And if you don't husk it right away, you risk the mold that could build up in there. And so we almost sabotaged 2/3 of our harvest because we didn't know you had to do that right away.
When my Uncle Hank planted white corn, I remember one year in particular, he leased land all over Cattaraugus, and they just planted corn, just immense amounts of corn. And when it was ready, he just got on the phone to Onondaga, talked to people from Ah-kwa-mish and Ganondagan, and I think there's people from Oneida that came over too, from Wisconsin, and they just loaded up truckloads of corn and just took it out of there, and he just gave it away. I think it's those sort of acts that that get people thinking more on a community basis and start thinking about the larger aspect of what we can do for each other.
And even like bringing families together and help building relationships with the people around you and having that common ground with the corn and just using that teamwork to make something and being like proud of it and having that mutual understanding of the importance of it with the people that's around it.
What I'm loving seeing in the Confederacy is now there's this whole movement of curious people who are kind of like raising an eyebrow to say, what exactly are they doing? I want to see what that's all about. And that's the whole element of Braiding the Sacred, is to pique the interest of the youth, starting from no matter what age. You know, you can consider yourself a youth if you're even in your 40s and it's your first time growing corn, because you're totally new to the experience. And it's a wonderful feeling. So I think it's really uplifting to see people that normally wouldn't have any type of connection to one another in any other way, finding that same common ground and able to connect to the other nations that way.
You know, everyone's lost a bit of this corn, right? There's only that I call them heroes, the people that dedicated their lives to it. You know, got more than 10 years into it already. Those are heroes of the Confederacy. Those are our modern day warriors. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to send warriors to the front lines right now. Our warriors are the people that are fighting for our food, you know, fighting for our pancreases because we can't process the stuff that we're eating, you know, the people that are fighting for our bodies and our well-beings. You know, these people out here that are doing this, right, raising their children, those are the warriors, and those are the unification of Haudenosaunee country, a true reintroduction of unity. Because you see people from each and every longhouse show up, every tribe, each and every clan, wanting to learn, wanting to participate, wanting to help. Not because they had to, not because they're getting paid, because they see what's in the community and they see what they need, and they know that as Haudenosaunee people, we need this and we need to do it together.
The healing work that is going on in our communities is really important, and I see the corn as playing a key role in that. You know, when we go to the ceremonies, there's always corn soup there. And when we have a chance to go out and work with the soil, I mean, even now science is recognizing that working with the soil helps counter depression. And here it was in our traditions, in our, you know, all through those years as a resource and a tool for us. And the fact that we've survived through all that oppression and the corn has survived through that oppression, it's that symbol of resilience and I think a big hope for our future.
You know, with all of these seed savers and the people I've been meeting like that, you know, I never knew they were out there. So now you have the more resources to go to and more people's brains to pick, so to say. I think once the younger generation sees like the stuff I've been seeing, that it'll be an impetus for them to, you know, pick this up and know that it's the right thing to do. Knowing that it's gonna happen makes you feel good in your heart, and that's where I'm just really excited about everything. It's a great time of the year to be Indigenous, especially when it's time to put your seeds in the ground.
Like one day me and my grandma were planting corn and I joined in and I said, can I help plant corn? So and she said, yes, of course. So I planted the corn and I said to each corn, go tall and big so you can be in the corn soup one day and we can eat you and you will save us so we could not starve to death. So you'll be in our bellies.